We would be honored if you would join us.
Between Silver Conundrum and Expat Stacker. Each week or so, we have a new part of an episode, and it's released on one of our channels. And then the next week, it's released on the other person's channel. So go ahead and subscribe to both of our channels, and don't miss anything. We are continuing our discussion with our first ever guest, Golden Gun, on the Silvercast, which this week we're going to call it the Gold Baby Gold Cast. How you doing today, Golden Gun?
I'm doing great, Expat Stacker. I love it. Gold, baby, gold.
Yeah. Oh, I got to ask you, has that always been your kind of catchphrase, or is that something that kind of caught on while you've been doing YouTube?
I never even thought about that phrase. I just literally said it and then started to keep saying it. People started to like it. That's just my excitement when it comes to gold.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I think I referenced that in one of my videos a while back. I was like, I was watching Golden Gun and he's talking about gold and he's just like, who doesn't love gold? It's gold, baby, gold.
Yeah, you laugh when I said that gold is gold.
Yeah.
But it's you can't argue. Gold is gold, and I mean, when we talk about other things, nothing to do with gold, we say that's gold, meaning it's fantastic, it's great. So yeah, gold is gold, gold baby gold.
Exactly, and it reminds me of, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but there's a American football coach who's really famous back in the day of the Oakland Raiders. Now I think they're the Las Vegas Raiders, but is Al Davis. He wasn't the coach, he was the owner, excuse me. And his famous line was, "Win, baby." And I don't know why, but whenever you say gold, baby, gold, it always reminds me of that. Anyway, that's an awesome catchphrase to have. I think everybody loves it. Everybody writes it in the comments and stuff. So yeah, we are honored to have you on as our first guest. So we do want to say that our good friend and mutual co-host Silver Conundrum hasn't been well. He's been sick, so we're hoping that he recovers soon. And there's a storm going on, so we just hope that he's gonna be doing all right there. And also, before we start the discussion, please note the disclaimer: Expat Stacker, Silver Conundrum, and Golden Gun are not financial advisors or experts. Investing is risky and comes with the chance that you could lose money. Talk to a licensed professional before making any decision about what to do with your money. This video and all of the contents on our channels is for entertainment and educational purposes only and should not be taken as financial advice. So in the first part of this episode, we talked about just who you are. You introduced yourself and talked about how you got into stacking and kind of how you see yourself, and all about Golden Gun. Who is Golden Gun? Talked even a little bit about some other investments and stuff like that. And now what we want to talk about in this second episode is what it's like stacking in Australia. I think there's a pretty decent representation of Australia in the YouTube stacking community. We got 49's Fine, Silver,
Yep.
Aussie Coin Girl, and I just found a new channel last night. His name is Through This Time, also known as 3Ts. He only has 6 subscribers, but I love this guy's channel, and he seems like pretty young. He's like in his maybe early to mid 20s, and I was pretty impressed with how sophisticated some of his like outlook is, because he kind of describes on some stuff. Maybe I'm just like late to the game, and I don't know. But anyway, I really like this channel. So this is the podcast for Golden Gun, but I gotta say that's one of your compatriots there from Australia. Really awesome guy. And you should go check him out. I'm sure he'll be thrilled to have another person from Australia. And anybody else I'm missing? Who I'm sure there's more. Who else is from Australia that's part of this stacking community on YouTube?
Those first two channels, Aussie Coin Girl and 49, those are great channels. That last one with the 6 subscribers, I'm gonna have to go check him out. I haven't seen that one yet. I've been following recently another small channel that's just started, Aussie Coin Hunter. He seems to have some great knowledge on the Australian coins, to the likes that I don't have. So he's been really good to learn from, Aussie Coin Hunter. But there's more. Yeah, they're definitely into stacking here, and we like it. We like our gold and silver.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just go ahead and leave a link to Golden Guns channel, of course, in the video, like we did with the first part of this episode. And we'll go ahead and leave links to all the other Australian channels as well. Yeah, part of the reason I like 3T so much is because he's super into the Korean KOMSCO stuff. So maybe it's my personal bias. But anyway, I do still feel, though, that like Australia is a little underrepresented for how awesome the country is and how much, you know, they are a contributor to like the global precious metals market, both as like a supplier, but also like having 2 mints in one country. And I mean, so much activity going on there with precious metals. I feel like it's a little underrepresented on YouTube. But what do you think about that?
I know we're very big gold producers, actually. I think China's the largest gold producer in the world, and I don't know if where Australia sits, but we're pretty high up there. If we're not second, we'd be third or fourth. But I mean, we're pretty high up in gold producing. So that does make sense. I know with the Perth Mint, we're one of the first mints around the world to make the sovereign coin. That was always made in England, and they did get some of the other countries in their empire making it, but it was over 100 years ago that the Perth Mint proved that their specifications and their minting process is definitely up to quality and standard. And started minting coins for them as well. So we do have some history here, and we do pretty good. You were mentioning with all the stackers here. I was just wondering in South Korea how many different stackers there are. There might be, you know, a whole lot of them on YouTube. Maybe not in English, speaking Korean. I'm not sure. But in Australia we've got a few, and we do have a history with the gold and the silver.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, here in Korea, I mean, I can speak Korean like at an intermediate level. So I'm not like super fluent, but I can communicate, you know, I can go to the bank, whatever, I can do everything I need. So I have searched on YouTube for other like stackers. I found like a couple of channels, but I wouldn't say that they're stacking channels. I'm not sure if this like stacking has really caught on here. There is a long history of especially gold for wealth preservation in Korea, and Korea also has the most gold crowns in the world, and without getting too much into the Korean history and stuff like that, there's a period of time in Korean history called the Three Kingdoms, and one of the kingdoms that was kind of like in the south of the country, they were really obsessed with gold. And I visited a museum there where they have gold crowns and stuff, and KOMSCO actually has a series that they started last year in 2019 of Korean gold crowns. I think the next country in the world with the most gold crowns is maybe Denmark, but Korea is number 1. They have like over, like I think 13 or something like that, and they're mostly from the Shilla dynasty. Aloha Stacker has the first coin in the series. I don't think he chose it. I think it was like a random coin deal on one of the bullion dealers, but he got that, and he's made a video showing that. But no, I don't think there's too much of like a stacking thing. It's a little different here. They have gold ornaments and gold jewelry, and it's given as gifts. I've shown, I did a video about like my kids, when my kids are 100 days old and 1 year old, they have these celebrations and they give like gold rings and gold jewelry and stuff like that, gold ornaments and things like this. So it's more of, it's not so much of like a stacking thing like how we think about it. But I do think that there has to be a stacking community here, because AppMex, right, from the US, well, they have a Korean affiliate called KPMex, who I feature heavily on my channel, and so I don't think that would exist if there wasn't stackers here. So maybe they exist, but they're just not on YouTube, and I've looked on Instagram and haven't really found them there as well. So maybe there's like a word for it that I don't really know or something yet. But one interesting thing is there's a district in the capital city of Seoul. I mean, they have, dealerships and stuff all over the place, all over the country, but there's a district in particular in the capital city, where it's nothing but gold shops. Like the whole street, it's like these 4 or 5, 6-story buildings and stuff, and they're all gold. So I want to go there one day and make a video about that, because I think that's kind of unique. I know there's like jewelry districts and stuff all over the world, but this one really seems to be kind of unique. But yeah, no, not really. I don't know. Maybe there's other stackers who I just haven't found yet. I mean, I'm finding new channels all the time. I found one yesterday where it's like 15,000 subscribers, and I was like, how did I never hear about this? So maybe there is, but yeah, I don't know. But you talked in the first part of this episode about like the meetup group thing. So it seems to be like a pretty decent community of stackers in Australia. So maybe they're just not as much on YouTube. They're more on like the forums and Facebook and stuff, or like, do you see a lot of people there?
Yeah, the Silver Stackers that I talked about in the first episode, that's our main forum here. It's probably the equivalent to the Silver Forum in England, and the UK. That is really, really big here. And you talk to a lot of other people from America and other places on YouTube, and they talk about, if you're going to sell on the secondary market, they just think of, well, I guess it's eBay. And they don't seem to have the equivalent of the Silver Stackers. I know people now go on Reddit and they go on Instagram, but yeah, I don't know if they have in America a large forum like that, where it's all over. It's all over the country, and there are thousands of members there. Anyone can join, and there's a large volume of buying and selling every day.
Yeah, interesting. I don't know if something like that exists or not in the US, but hey, maybe it's a business opportunity for somebody. So Silver Conundrum, we were having a conversation, before, while we were setting up and arranging this episode, and he wanted to hear about your perspective about like how stacking is generally in Australia. We've kind of talked about that a little bit. Like, what are some of the challenges though? And also, what is it like to just have access to probably the best mint in the world? So that's kind of like 2 parts. Let's break that down. So what are some of the challenges you face, like some of the difficulties and stuff?
Sure. So when you look at the big dealers, the AppMex and the JM Bullion and some of the large ones that everyone on YouTube from America are talking about, it's not so easy for us to buy from them. They talk about free shipping, but that's usually in America or just for America and Canada. So if we want to buy from there, we've got to pay quite a bit of shipping fee and quite a bit of insurance fee as well. So generally, we either don't do it, or sometimes we do it, but we certainly got to have a real large order to try to make it worth it. And those sites, I mean, they've got a great range, really diverse range of coins and stuff that they've got available. And a lot of that really is not available so often here. I mean, sure, anything can be on the secondary market, but I mean, people in America, they're stacking gold pesos, for example, and it looks great. Those are fantastic coins. that they're getting, not too much above spot. It is very rare that I see a gold peso, just as an example, available here. Sure, there are some great stuff available here, but I mean that's one of the issues. Another main issue is taxes. You've got a different tax situation depending where you guys are when you're buying. I know in Europe, in the UK, people talk about wanting to buy silver coins and not silver bars. Apparently, they've got a tax on silver bars, but not on silver coins. But here in Australia, there's an 8% tax on anything non-pure. So if you're buying a maple, that's 100% gold. You don't have a problem. You're buying a Perth Mint Lunar, that's 100% gold, 24 carat. Doesn't matter whether it's 999 or 49s or whatever, no tax. But if you wanted to buy an American Eagle, 8%. If you want to buy the gold sovereigns, which I did talk about being very liquid here, you buy them on the secondary market, you buy them from dealers that help you out from buybacks. But otherwise, if you were buying them new, that would be an 8% tax as well. So it's got to be pure. I don't know where they come up with these rules, depending which country they're in. But yeah, none of the 22 carat stuff or the lower purity without the taxes. So those are a couple issues that we face.
Right. So yeah, I just stick with what I can get here, and I've done a video about the top 5 kind of dealers here in Korea a while back.
I saw that. That was a good video.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. What about in Australia? Do you have like some go-to places where they're like kind of big national online distributors, like maybe an Australian version of like AppMex or something?
Yeah, sure. Look, in every major city or state, there's usually one, two, at least one or a couple really good local coin shops and dealers. So in Melbourne, we had a great one called Gold Stackers. And they're just in the city, probably 6-7 kilometers from where I am. So I like to go there face to face. I don't have to pay for the mail. One of the main owners of that place actually sold it to his employees, and now they've set up a shop competing with them and rivaling them in a big way. So we've got 2 great ones in Melbourne. So I'm talking about Bullion now, who are fantastic. And there's a couple other ones interstate. So sometimes they can be the cheapest. Not always the cheapest where I am, and I might get it mailed over. But a lot of the times I do pretty well in Melbourne. Melbourne's a pretty good capital here. Of course, it would be nice to live in Perth. Then I could go and visit the Perth Mint directly and pick it up face to face, which people in Perth can do. But yeah, I've got my local coin shops here. I've got my interstate coin shops I can buy from, and I've got the Facebook group. I've got the Silver Stackers forum, which I've talked about. So that's pretty much where I get everything, and I'm pretty happy and lucky to have all that.
Yeah. So Silver Conundrum, the second part of his question was about like having access to one of the best mints in the world. And for me, like here, I got the KOMSCO mint in Korea, and they're kind of just getting on the scene, within the past 5 years or so. And by the way, I just saw a video where they're hiring. How awesome would that be if I could get a job there? Okay, so just wishful thinking. But okay, so there's some stuff here that I have access to, like the Kilo KOMSCO bars, which is not available yet in the overseas markets customers. You could get it through a distributor, but it'd be quite expensive, right? So, but I have access to some things here where maybe other people outside of Korea don't. So have you ever been to the Perth Mint, and is there any advantages to being, in the country where it comes from?
Yeah, I saw your KOMSCO kilo bars in that beautiful case that it comes in, and that's the first place I've ever seen it actually. So you're right. There is benefits depending where you live. I haven't been to the Perth Mint. I've only been to Perth once for a couple of weeks. It was a great place actually. But that was before I was a stacker, unfortunately. It was before 2015. I did visit the Royal Australian Melbourne Mint. We've got another mint here in Melbourne. When I was a kid, we had a school excursion. But I mean, the main benefit to being in Perth specifically is just you don't have to pay the mail and insurance when you're ordering direct from the Perth Mint. And the local coin shops here, they generally have the same prices or very close to the Perth Mint, what the Perth Mint does. Because obviously, if you're a large coin shop here, then you're going to be a distributor of the Perth Mint. They're going to look after you. They don't even make them pay for everything up front. So they get the stock in straight from the Perth Mint. And the Perth Mint shop actually has to compete directly with these local coin shops that we've got in Melbourne and the other states to get stuff from the Perth Mint, so they make sure it's an even playing field. So as long as you jump on the stuff right away when it comes out, then it's fantastic being here when it comes to getting Perth Mint stuff. I will say that a lot of the time, the majority of a mintage can be sent overseas for America and Europe and everywhere else. Earlier on, I bought, for example, the 1/10 gold Kookaburra coin, which now has a big premium on it in a short time and is really, really popular. I think it had a mintage of like 15,000 or something, and less than 3,000 of them stayed in Australia. So they were all sent overseas to those larger distributors like APMEX, etc. So it is great being here. You do have it available, but you've got to jump on it quick if it's something really popular. The Lunars, though, they're generally going to be available to you for at least 6 months most of the time. So now that those gold Lunars have come out that I need to collect, I only have one of the 5 that I need for my set. But you know, I've got a little bit of time. I don't have to rush out and quickly get the other 4. And yeah, most of the Perth Mint stuff I do have available, which is great. Obviously, the Perth Mint is a great option. Although it just makes my stack really, really heavy in just the Perth Mint and just Lunars.
Yeah. Well, I mean, luckily, you know, they have one of the best reputations of any mint. I've noticed as well that like the Perth Mint stuff, even here in Korea, you know, it does not have a crazy high premium when it comes out most of the time, you know, unless it's like a numismatic or a proof or something special. But like those Dragon coin bars that I love so much, like when they first come out, I mean, there's like the premium compared to other coins is not crazy. So I really do like that about them. What is the view of the Perth Mint and the Royal Australian Mint? So I just watched one of Florida Stacker's videos. I think he has said this in the past as well, but I just watched one today where he's talking about the Great White Shark coin, yes, the Royal Australian Mint, and he's basically said the main difference between them is that the Perth Mint makes not intended for circulation coinage, and I know that Perth Mint also mints some stuff for some nearby kind of Micronesian nations in Oceania, but then the Royal Australian Mint, they are also responsible for creating Australian currency. So they're like maybe the official national mint, and then the Perth Mint is kind of, you know, more along like the stacking and collecting stuff. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think you know about as much about it as me. You've done pretty well. Yes, in the school excursion when I was in primary school, we went to the Royal Australian Mint and we saw normal currency getting made. We saw from the machines rolling out notes, normal notes, $20 notes. I remember that are just normal currency that we use here. And the Perth Mint for stackers is who makes the super popular coins. I know Royal Australian Mint recently, they've made that shark coin, which I've seen everywhere. I didn't get on that one myself, but it does seem to be popular. And Aussie Coin Hunter showed it. That's a guy I mentioned in the last episode, another Australian stacker. They've got some boxed silver coins. It's a 3 or 4 series coin with some Aboriginal designs. The Aboriginals here have some great Aboriginal artwork that are put into those coins, and I think they're about $70 or $80, which is probably about $60 or so US for 1 ounce of silver. But that's boxed. It's a beautiful series, and I did think about collecting that as well, just because I am in Melbourne, so I guess I could walk right into the Royal Australian Mint and purchase that face to face. But they're starting to try to get into the stacking, but they're more about normal currency that we use day to day. And yeah, Perth Mint does seem to be mainly where it's at for us stackers.
Right. Yeah. And I know that also the Royal Australian Mint also has their own iteration of Lunar series as well. I mean, I think almost every country does. I don't know if the U.S. Mint does one, but pretty much like Canada does one, Rwanda does one. You know, the Z-Sin series here in Korea, that is kind of their own twist on it. And so China does the one, obviously. And yeah, it's really popular. So yeah, that's interesting how those two mints kind of work together. Are there any other popular mints that maybe only locals know about that's not really overseas? Or
No, those are the only two that I know about. To be honest, yeah, I don't pretend to be an expert in everything when it comes to mints and currency here in Australia. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just the Royal Australia Mint and the Perth Mint that I know of. Someone please comment if you have more info than me on that. I haven't researched this first, but yeah, that's all I'm aware of.
yeah, oh, I'm sure people will comment if we make a mistake. It's YouTube. Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, that's what we were talking about before. It's great because we get to share information. So that is really good. So in I mean, just my personal perspective, I'm more of a big fan of the Perth Mint. I don't actually have anything from the Royal Australian Mint. And I guess it's probably just because the Perth Mint specializes in more of what I'm into. But like, how would you say Australian stackers look at the two?
It seems to be 90% of people are exactly like you here. When I'm looking on the forum and what people are buying and selling, it's almost all Perth Mint. It seems to be that people that are more collectors and they've been stacking for a long time, they're a little bit older, or maybe they've had decades where they've been interested in coins, and they're really more collectors into coins. They're into that sort of they've got Royal Australian Mint, the Melbourne Mint's stuff. They show the Lunar coins. They show different collections that I've seen. They get into it a little bit more. So when you get more hardcore into collecting, then you really look for exactly what do they all have and what and they get more diverse. But for just stacking and getting into it, the Perth Mint is where it's at because they're super popular, world famous. You're in South Korea and you love them. Everyone on YouTube loves them. So when you want to sell, when you want to flip, in general, you want to stick with the Perth Mint. When you get more into it, you become more of a collector. That's the time to really look at the Royal Australian Mint, although they are trying to do different coins like that shark coin and become more mainstream.
That's interesting. Okay, so in the first part of this episode, you had mentioned about how like kilo bars are very liquid over there, and I think in Korea it's the same. Actually, I see kilo bars getting sold all the time. KOMSCO just started doing them like a year or two ago, but before that, I'd say probably the number one generic bullion dealer here who works with KOMSCO, the Korea Gold Exchange. They have a lot of very popular bars. I have some of their bars. I have a half kilo 500-gram bar from them, as well as 100-gram bar from them. And those 100-gram, 500-gram, and 1 kilo, those are really, really popular and liquid here. I see it going all the time, flying around all over the place. Those are very liquid here, as well as gold. American gold is just so liquid. If there's an American gold eagle or silver eagle for sale on the secondary market, it doesn't last but a few minutes or hours here, honestly. And so that's very, very liquid, and all the stuff, all the typical stuff, the maples, all that kind of stuff. It's very popular here, but in Korea also, like those bars, and even the gold bars, they have really high liquidity here. And I've mentioned a few times on my channel as well that in Asia, they have different traditional measurements, which is called a don. And you can find that in China, in Vietnam, in Korea, many East Asian nations. They have a measurement of 3.75 grams, which is like one standard unit, traditional standard unit of measurement. So you find 3.75 gram bars here and multiples of. That's why I mentioned one of the first bars that I bought, the first piece of gold I bought was 11.25 grams, which is really weird sounding, but it's a multiple of the kind of traditional standard here. So that's what's kind of liquid over here in Korea. American stuff, Australian stuff, Canadian stuff, Austrian stuff, all very, very popular and highly liquid. I see that all the time. And then the traditional gold bar measurements, as well as those 100, 500, and 1 kilo silver bars. There are a few other popular bullion dealers here that nobody knows overseas, and they actually produce their own rounds. But for me, it's not worth it to buy it because they're more expensive. I mean, there's a big premium on them, and I'd rather not, you know. I did see one person on YouTube who somehow, I don't know how, but he's a random guy, I think in America, and he had one from like this really obscure local bullion dealer. They only have 2 shops in the whole country of Korea, and he had a round from them. I was like, how did this guy find it? But anyway, the point I'm getting to is about liquidity. So you mentioned that kilo bars are highly liquid there. I'm sure obviously Perth mint stuff and even Royal Australian Mint stuff is very highly liquid. In terms of foreign bullion, you know, I mentioned about Through This Time, 3T's channel. He'd mentioned in a couple of his videos that like foreign bullion is a little more difficult to have access to. And you also mentioned that, you know, the shipping costs and stuff for like getting something delivered from APMEX is very difficult. But once it's in Australia, how highly liquid is it? I mean, foreign American stuff, Canadian stuff, and so on.
A lot of the stuff is extremely liquid. I mean, we might not know as much about, you know, Don size and stuff like that that you were talking about. But if you can get the well-known stuff in, then the secondary market, they're going to eat it up. They're going to love to see that it's available because it's rare that it becomes available. So if you can say, hey, I've got a 1/10 gold American Eagle, when we don't, you know, get that as much, people are really going to want it. It doesn't matter whether you've got Britannias, you've got maples. I mean, anything that's well known, everyone's going to love on the secondary market to see that it's available and they've got a chance to buy it. As long as it's well known, we will eat it up. If you can get it, if you can get it here.
Yeah, right. So it, you know, I think it's been very enlightening and interesting to hear about stacking in Australia. And we did mention a few other channels there who I'm sure they probably have their own contributions to make. Hopefully they see this and contribute. And if anybody has any questions about stacking in Australia or anything that we mentioned in this video, go ahead and leave it in the comments section. You got anything else you want to say, Golden Gun?
Thank you guys very much. It was great to be with you again. Thanks a lot.
It's been a great discussion, and we really appreciate everybody for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys all in the next one.